We will take the first question from Gabriel Gonzalez with Cageside Press.
Hi, Michelle.
How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for asking. People are saying that there's beef going on with you and Angela. Is this true, or did I miss something?
I think you might have missed something. I don't know. If there is, I don't know about it. I'm just excited to get in there and throw some leather.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like I know you guys did the video together. I think a lot of people love the Don't Rush challenge with yourself and all the other women of MMA. Can you talk about how that one came together in the pandemic?
Here's the thing, guys. We're in the hurt business. The objective of the fight is to inflict the most damage. There's no way around that. And so I guess in that sense, both of us want to win. But at the end of the day, we are more alike than we are different. We have more similarities than we have differences, and so we can bond and try to share some positivity in the world in that sense as well. And I think that it just goes to show you our sportsmanship and our respect for one another in this sport.
You're coming off a close one against Carla. What did you take from that fight to help you grow as a fighter when you went back to the gym?
Um, to to not be so hung up on strategy. I think that it's kind of hard to say. It's always going to be those shoulda, woulda, couldas. And what I understand is that everything happens for a reason. And I had to come back to the gym and understand to not leave it in the hands of the judges. It was my fight to be won, and it slipped through my fingers, and that's my fault. So it was a very close fight, and it didn't have to be. So that's what I learned is to take control of the situation, and if I have the opportunity to finish the fight, then to finish the fight.
So Michelle, I know you're very popular and being even 0-2, I think a lot of people say, Karate Hottie isn't about to be cut from the UFC. But, is there pressure, you don't want to get that third loss in a row, obviously. Is that in your mind, or how do you separate that when you're in camp?
It's not in my mind. My mind, all camp is just to improve and to get better and to unleash what I have inside of me. I've been fighting for over 13 years. I've been doing martial arts for over, for for um for over 25 years. I mean, it's insane that I don't go in and step into the octagon and unleash all of my tools. And so that's just what I've um, really embraced. This fight camp is to love what I do, to go out there and utilize all the tools that I have, and to not um, restrict myself from any of it, because it is MMA. I'm not just a stand-up fighter. I have 9 submissions under my win. I have an amazing world-renowned wrestling coach. I have an amazing husband who was an amazing boxer in his own right, who's been sharpening my tools as a boxer. So I have all these tools. I'm just gonna let it all out.
Final question: what does Angela Hill bring as an opponent?
I think Angela Hill is hungry. I think that she has a lot of grit. I think she's riding on this momentous um, string of fights that she's had. She's a volume striker, and she's game. Those are the things that she presents, and those are the things that I'm ready for.
Thank you, Michelle. Good luck.
Thank you.
We will take the next set of questions from Ezekiel Berganzi with Super Luchas.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So, how do you feel now that on short notice you became the main event of this evening?
It's really exciting. I am grateful that the UFC put trust in Angela and I to put on a show strong enough to uphold the main event, and I know that we will deliver. The strawweights always deliver.
And what adjustments did you make on your game plan after your last fight?
I think it's just to let it fly, honestly.
Mhm.
You know, Sometimes it takes a couple of fights for things to come out that you've been working on, and every fight I learn and I grow and I evolve as a fighter, and I allow my weaknesses to become my strengths. So When you're fighting in the sport of MMA, there's so many things to focus on, and so I just focus on being the best mixed martial artist that I could be.
And you and Angela both come with losses, so I really expect that you know are going to fight really with this hunger of winning. No, so what kind of fight do you expect, taking account this fact?
I think you hit it on the nail when you said that we're both really hungry to get back in there and get in the win column, especially after those controversial fights. And that's what it is. I'm hungry and I'm looking to fill my belly with that W, and so I know she is too, but I'm starving.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
And we will take our next questions from Danny Segura with MMA Junkie.
Hey, Michelle. Just last weekend we saw Alistair Overeem, a veteran of the sport, say basically like he was understanding that he was on his last title run. You're 34 years old. I know you're still in shape and still competing with the best. But I'm wondering, do you kind of feel like that? Do you feel like the clock is ticking for you here, and you got to turn things around, or do you see yourself still having a sort of long career?
I found myself falling into the trap of trying to look ahead and trying to map out my journey. And all that does is distract me from being in the moment. And so right now, I'm in the moment. My focus and mission is to beat Angela this Saturday, and that's what I'm focusing on. And, martial arts will always be a part of my life, regardless. But I'm not looking past Angela. My focus is this Saturday.
Mhm. And speaking of Angela, her last bout was pretty controversial. I'm wondering if you got to see her last fight, and what'd you think of it? Did you think that she got wrong there in the decision? Do you think she should have won that fight?
I think it depends on the type of style you like to watch. Do you like to watch a striker, or do you like to watch, a grappler who is constantly putting forward pressure and, controlling the cage? It really depends. That fight could have gone either way, the same as me and Carla's fight could have gone either way. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why they matched the two of us up.
So I'm guessing you thought she won since you're a striker and you like watching striking, or no?
I know I'm the karate hottie, but I wouldn't consider myself a striker. I would consider myself a mixed martial artist,
Mhm.
and I have a lot of wins by submission. So, um, like I said, that fight could have gone either way. I did watch it back and turned off the commentating, and I thought that Claudia did enough to win.
And Angela recently entered the rankings, but a lot of people, even Claudia Gadella, after the fight, said she was very underrated, and she's actually been among the top with for quite some time. Do you feel that way towards Angela? Do you feel like maybe she's a bit underrated in her career?
I think that Angela has done an amazing job at climbing up the ladder and taking fights and doing what she has to do to get noticed. She's a scrappy fighter and a volume fighter, and her skills have only been improving since she's come back to the UFC after becoming champion at Victa. I never underestimate any of my opponents that I step inside the cage with.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Good luck this weekend.
We will take our next questions from Van Tate with KRQE News.
What's going on, Michelle?
Hey Van, good to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, hey, so since you guys got bumped up to main event, and I know you're excited about being the main event, have you had to guard against like being too pumped up? Like just let it be the main event, just treat it as a regular fight.
I think that's kind of my MO anytime I come to fight for fight week is regardless of its main event, first fight of the night, a fight in the back alley or amongst a million fans. When you step into the octagon, it's just you and your opponent across the cage, and that's always been my go-to when it comes to how do I approach the fight.
And then each training camp has its own feel. How did you feel with this camp, and as you head into this fight?
It was an amazing camp. I felt the fire in my heart grow each week, and and I'm ready to just unleash, go out there and have some fun.
And what do you think you have to do to be successful in this fight?
I just have to be myself. Go out there, bite down on my mouthpiece, and let it go.
Are you, do you feel like since you guys have that in common as far as being former Invicta champions, that's just another carrot on the table to fight for, right?
Absolutely. You know, we're I fight because I want to win, and I want to beat the very best out there. So for sure, it'd be great on my resume.
Do you feel like you need this one as far as to keep your name in the conversation for the UFC strawweight title, as a contender and to get that shot?
Yeah, absolutely.
And could you elaborate on that? Why you feel like that?
Both Angela and I are chomping at the bits to get to the top, and there's kind of a stale, like it's kind of stagnant at the top because of the nature of what has happened, in the world today. Nina is out because she's getting ready to have a baby, and Suarez is injured. Um, Rose just broke her nose, and so there's some wiggle room for who gets the next shot at the title, and I want it to be me.
And I know there's not going to be a crowd there and stuff like that, but do you guys still work on your entrance, how you want to come in, even without a crowd there? Do you still want to look fly when you're coming in?
Oh, I'm looking fly no matter what, even when I'm waking up. But we prepared for what it feels like to walk out without a crowd, and so it's like, what, I pull energy from the crowd, but now what do I pull energy from? I pull energy from the sound of my glove hitting her face. I pull energy from the sound of my shin hitting her thigh. I pull energy from the sound of her body hitting the mat. That's where I'll pull the energy from.
Hey, sounds like she's going to get roughed up a little bit. So, hey, thanks so much, Michelle. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Damon Martin with MMA Fighting.
Hey, Michelle. I apologize if this was asked already, but I saw obviously the fight got bumped up to main event. You guys are doing 5 rounds. Now, we've seen a couple other short notice main events come together. The Anthony Smith fight, and they ended up being 3 rounds. Can you give me an idea, like, did they ask you to do 5 rounds? Did you want to do 5 rounds?
It's a main event. You got to do 5 rounds. And I'm never one to shy down from a challenge, and this was an amazing challenge to take, and I was up for it.
Were you given that option, or did you immediately volunteer and say, I want to do 5 rounds?
I just figured that that's kind of the responsibility you take on as a main event fighter.
You've been in main events, big ones in the UFC. You've been here before, being under that spotlight. Do you embrace that, and do you believe that actually is? Because some people, they kind of fade under the spotlight. Some people shine under the spotlight. You've been a person who's kind of always embraced that. Do you kind of embrace this moment of kind of taking advantage of being the main event now?
I think you have to embrace all these special moments, because if you don't, they come and go, and then when you look back at it, you're like, man, I didn't appreciate that moment for what it was. This is such an amazing moment in my life. Why would I shy away from it? Why wouldn't I open up the curtains and breathe in that fresh air? This is historic. I sometimes, because I've been fighting for so long, I forget how cool it is to be doing what I get to do. And I do have to kind of sit down and smell the roses sometimes. If you don't, like, what's all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears for? What is it for if you don't appreciate these moments?
Absolutely. With that being said, talked earlier about Angela having a bit of a controversial decision in her. You were also in a fight that was very, very close. Obviously, sport at the highest levels, you're not going to go out and knock out every single opponent you. But is there a point in a fight like this to go out and kind of put an exclamation point and leave no doubt, especially coming off a very hard fought split decision?
Yeah, There is. You don't want any doubt within your mind, with the judge's mind, and with the world. That is always that should always be the objective. Since I've been fighting for the UFC outside of my UFC debut, I fought top 10 girls, always. And so when you get up to the top tier of competition, getting those finishes becomes so much harder. And I hope that people understand that is because the competition is so thick and rich with talent and technique. Getting a finish isn't something that you can force, or it is something that happens through in the moment. And so that's what I plan on doing is being in the moment. I'm not going to try to force anything, but for sure, the motivation is to finish the fight.
And last question, Michelle, when you look at her style, I don't want to pigeonhole her and say she's only a striker, but when she likes to strike. Do you feel like you've seen those holes, those openings in her game where you can take advantage of that and make this a more one-sided fight? Or, if the opportunity presents itself to get that finish, because you've had those dominant finishes, obviously, throughout your career.
Yes, like I said, the objective is to finish the fight, and I do think that she has holes in her game that I will capitalize on.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
And we will take our last set of questions from Cassandra Cusino with Las Vegas Sports Biz.
Hi there, Michelle.
How are you?
Good to see your face today. First question for me is, you were part of some of the early cards in Jacksonville in the smaller cage. Did you learn anything in that fight that actually you deemed to be helpful going into Apex?
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of being comfortable with the idea that there isn't a crowd, being comfortable with the idea that I could hear my corner and she could hear my corner. Um, Understanding that I had to draw energy from different places other than the crowd. All those small little things, play a factor, and definitely we were able to kind of fine tune how we trained in order to prepare ourselves for that.
Second question is, in addition to some adjustments you've had to make in your career due to the pandemic, you're also a mom of a young daughter. I know a lot of schools are doing things a little differently. Can you talk me through some of the challenges that you face having a daughter while you're also trying to figure out this kind of new era in your career?
Um, there's so many things that happen in my fight career that I learned that I can then transfer over into life lessons for myself and for my family and for my daughter. Something that really stuck out to me is how courageous and brave the UFC was in stepping outside of the comfort zone of the pandemic and moving forward and pressing forward and figuring out a way to give us all work and allow us all to continue to pursue our passions during this pandemic. It really inspired me to instill that within my daughter. Okay, this has happened. This is out of our control. So now what can we do to grow from this versus allow it to make us submit to it? Um, there are always going to be problems in this world, and you have to figure out as an individual, how are you going to deal with this problem and how are you going to overcome this problem? And so, with the pandemic and my daughter, getting over the hump of homeschooling and having her understand to be more self-sufficient and having her be more outspoken when she's having trouble, to her teacher over Zoom and to her parents, having her understand how to still socialize and connect with people over Zoom and while she's wearing a face mask, and keeping her healthy and keeping her active. These are all things, and keeping her and teaching her the importance of nutrition and the importance of hygiene. These are all things that are going to help her in her future, regardless of what else is there to come.
And finally, for me, I guess going back to 2011, Dana was adamant that there weren't going to be women fighting in the UFC, and here you are on short notice headlining a card. How does that feel for you? And do you think about those days when you thought maybe the door was closed, and do you embrace now how many opportunities you have in this promotion?
It is the coolest thing in the world. I remember being in my apartment, moving out to Albuquerque, New Mexico, still being a local fighter and having a vision board in my apartment. And at that time, Dana didn't think that he'd ever see girls in there. And I still had it on my vision board that I was going to be fighting for the UFC. And here I am, fighting for the main event, and it's amazing.
Thank you, Michelle. Good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That is all the time we had for you.
Thanks, guys.